We've been working towards an OSF SA that has a healthy organizational structure internally and one where the staff welfare is paramount. No wonder we are here celebrating. We've been working with a winning combination. With our pilot's vision and steering, we disbursed over double of our annual grant budget towards a COVID-19 rapid response intervention, which was an output of a visionary thinking, of a passion. And through that intervention, we reached vulnerable communities across over 5 provinces. Please help me welcome to the podium the Executive Director of the Open Society Foundation for South Africa, Ms. Bulelwa Makalimangewana. Thank you.
We want a relationship with our grantees that is based on a real practical approach to what we are funding you for the work that you do, so that you are not driven by our agenda. Rather, it's your agenda and your passion for the work that you do that drives you. So we want to partner with you. We've always been wanting to do that. Let's be your partner. We want to reach the rural areas of South Africa. We know it's not an easy thing to fund NGOs or civil society practitioners in rural areas. Sometimes it's impossible for them just to be able to get to a network that is able to sustain their ability to even submit an application. We continue to live through history. We are making history as this generation. Democracy continues to remain under threat. I don't have to tell you this if you are a South African. I don't have to tell you this even if you are a practitioner in the civil society space, that democracy, 200-year-old democracies such as the US, are under threat right now. Our democracy is still very fragile. Our democracy still needs support. It needs activists. We are tired of corruption. We are tired of failed leadership. We are tired of uncourageous leadership. But that's exactly when we need to be able to put our minds together and co-create solutions that allows us to have those creative leaders to lead us. Because one thing we know, South Africa as a country cannot fail. It cannot fail as a democracy. It needs to survive, to give that glimmer of hope that it's possible to move from a conflictual situation to a democratic space where everybody has a voice, where everybody is able to actually have a right, and those rights are realized as they are enshrined in the Constitution. This is why we invest so much money in the independent media space. This is why we invest so much money in supporting government to really get to the root of what's gone wrong in terms of corruption. I know that the future looks scary in many respects because we have questions that we can't answer at the moment, but I do know that we have a future because people like you are our partners and work under enormous pressure and in order to face a lot of frustrations and have you have your ear on the ground and are able to tell us exactly what is going wrong and how we can support in getting our investment there so that those issues are addressed. What is the future? Does it really pay for us as OSF South Africa to be only focused myopically internally, as if xenophobia, gender-based violence, climate change, corruption doesn't go through all these boundaries? As if we cannot understand that we are in a continent of other 53 odd countries that we need to have a relationship with. Why can't we amplify our ability to do what we need to do by regionalizing our work? And so the 5 foundations in Africa proactively decided to merge and form one foundation. And that foundation is called OSF Africa. The work of the new OSF Africa is going to be focused on 4 pillars. Don't be too focused on the pillars, because within those pillars there's many themes. So if I'm not calling out a theme that you think should be there, because that actually is your area of work, rest assured, somewhere in there, your area of work has been captured. One of the critical principles that we made sure as the senior leadership team, that is a principle that is embedded in our own constitutional setup of the new OS Africa, is that 30% of the budget will go to women's work all over the continent, and 20% of the budget, yes, and 20% of the budget will go towards youth, and then we will then be able to make sure that we are able to make sure that we have an opportunity through this transformation. Because remember, OSF is grown almost like an octopus, you know. Every year there's a new leg, every year there's a new leg, but there's one big head. And so sometimes it's difficult for the legs to actually communicate. But now that we've had this transformation, there's a devolution of power from global to the region. And then there's a regional independence. And in order to be able to really be clear about how does Africa benefit from this philanthropy? How does Africa make sure that African solutions are found for African problems? How do we make sure that African voices are amplified? We want to be able to leverage our capabilities and our might as African colleagues working in the continent with stakeholders who are really empowered in the continent. We want to also occupy global spaces so that we have weight when we sit in those rooms. How many times have you sat in a room and look around and see so many people that are not necessarily Africans making decisions for Africa in terms of where to invest, what money needs to go where, etc.
It's great to see everybody, comrades, friends. My name is Henny van Vuren, I work with Open Secrets, and delighted to be here with a panel of colleagues and comrades from civil society.
What's interesting from a law reform perspective are the little structural or systemic recommendations that are creeping through these case studies. So for instance, there's quite a long discussion in the report around racketeering, which then just raises a lot of questions around what is our law in South Africa in relationship to racketeering.
The problem is that the state is a state. Is falling apart, or maybe has fallen apart. And that is partly a function of the complexity of our state and the complexity of our political institutions. And it is also partly a function of our history.
Communities at this stage need to be contactized, need to be informed, need to be updated, need to be mobilized. Otherwise, when communities are not being informed, it's very easy for elites or big corporates to take an advantage of our communities. But if they are informed, nobody can touch them.
I think what we've seen in the last year is a continuation of effectively wars against poor people in our country, but I think articulated in different ways through potential state failure as a result of state capture, through this violent insurrection that we've seen, and the work is cut out for us as organizations, and I think we really look forward to an opportunity to continue, all of us, to be able to work with OSF and other funders to enable us to do some of the work that we need to do, and for us, not only because of funders, to be able to work together.
And I think at the same time, we need to have a massive push from ourselves, journalists, etc., for more transparency and public disclosure of information. So that as civil society, which I think is a very neutral word, I think we can be stronger than that, we can help and add strength. I think the media and the judiciary needs to be supported in big ways. But more than that, I think we haven't seen the judiciary always able to effectively do what needs to be done outside of a movement building approach.
Thanks for coming.
we are doing this work out of passion, and so we're not taking a moment to document. And so to substitute sometimes the quality of the photographs that were provided, the team then, we decided, let's go to these communities and actually have, images of quality and have that face-to-face time as well.
I didn't know anything about paralegals until I started this project, and it opened my mind up, and then it allowed us to also be able to create the type of content we have inside, the stories we want to tell, how we wanted to reflect on the organizations and the work that they do.
The paralegal has to do a lot of listening. And beyond that listening, the advice giving is also required to also have a level of action behind it. So more than anything, what the sector has won from COVID-19 is just an open relationship with technology now that we are hoping would actually take us to the next level and help us address some of the issues that were happening at a national level as well.
As civil society, we need to help each other document the impact that we have, that organizations have, that don't necessarily fit neatly into project deliverables, so that core grant funding can continue. And then the second is another request, again for money, is long-term funding for advice officers. I think it's just so important, and I'm hoping that some of the data that comes out, we will use as evidence to kind of, get more funding.